sector. The decision by Nigeria to begin manufacturing vaccines locally represents a significant step towards enhancing healthcare accessibility and addressing public health needs. This strategic move not only demonstrates Nigeria's commitment to improving healthcare infrastructure, but also highlights the nation's determination to overcome obstacles and build resilience in the face of health crisis. Now, what are the opportunities and impact of this move on the entire sector? Let's get talking now. I'm being joined by a known pharmacist, a politician, and a businessman, Mazi Sam Ohabua. Good afternoon. It's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you, Tolu. It's a pleasure.
Yes, I wanted to start this way because after COVID, like I said, behind cameras, that there's been a lot of focus on the pharmaceutical space. We've seen support coming all around, trying to improve capacity. Where are we? How have all those interventions, what impact have they made on the entire sector?
Well, I think that the challenge we've had in our country is lack of consistent accomplishment of any vision or plan. We start and stop and go. So it makes it difficult for us to optimize the benefits. During the COVID, there was a lot of attention. In fact, CBN raised 100 billion naira special fund for the industry. It's true. And many pharmaceutical companies took advantage. They were given a maximum of 2 billion naira. It was exciting. However, we haven't yet seen the full benefits because the program had two issues. First is that when the money was released, and most of the need of the pharmaceutical manufacturers were either to build new plants, yes, or import specialty chemicals. All of that required substantive investment in terms of foreign exchange. Forex. Yet this was a problem. It took some companies more than 2 years to get the Forex. And in the process, the valuation happened. Inflation came up. So that has delayed the realization. But it was a well-intentioned project. And we were so happy that that happened. But that has not been followed through because even some companies now that took those facilities are being told that the tenure has been reduced. It was supposed to be like a 10-year or 9-year tenure, but it's been reduced to 7 years or so.
Earlier, you have to pay back.
You have to pay back. And yet, many haven't even started generating resources, cash flow from that. So it is this lack of vision and consistency that is really the problem. Otherwise, that project was the first time we saw a dedicated allocation to the pharmaceutical industry and the healthcare in general.
So moving away from that, we've also seen that renewed interest now. The news out that Nigeria to produce vaccine is a new one and a very good one to us as Nigerians. But really, do we have this capacity? Let me ask that question that way.
Well, I think that we're dealing with a country where we need to be ashamed of ourselves. I say so because this country was manufacturing vaccines in 1940. Between 1940 and 1991, you had the Yaba vaccine plant that was making vaccine, yellow fever, rabies, smallpox, and so forth and so on in this country, supplying Nigeria and supplying every West African state. 1991, that stopped. And up till now, we haven't been able to get back to that because things have changed. Establishing a vaccine plant now requires so many things. First, you need to have the regulatory qualification. NAFDAC until lately couldn't even regulate vaccine plants because it was below the maturity level. You need to be a minimum maturity level 3 so they can regulate a vaccine. It started in a maturity level 1 when Professor Adeye came. She's worked with her team to take us to level 3. So I think we're ready for. The next thing is the investment that is required. Because for you to get to the investment to manufacture vaccines in our country is not NAFDAC GMP. You have to get NAFDAC GMP, get WHO GMP. Then you had WHO pre-qualification, which is not just the GMP, but the pre-qualification of the brand. So that is going to be an issue. Even this Yaba plant I referred to, there was an agreement to do a public-private partnership with one pharmaceutical manufacturing company. But it has not come on because of the investment. Huge investment is required. And you know, when you make vaccines, yes, you also have limited market. Vaccine is not sold to the private market. It's the government, it's the public sector that buys. So if you don't have the pre-qualification, you can't buy. And Nigeria's case is worsened. Not just Nigeria, most of the African nations. Their vaccine supply is mostly donor-mediated. They get money from Gavi and multilateral donors. They bring the vaccine, they pay for vaccines. And they insist that you must have WHO pre-qualification to be able to make my vaccines. So if Nigeria doesn't get to that level, even if you are manufacturing vaccine here, except the federal government decides to buy, like we had during the period of AIDS, during the AIDS problem, the federal government, the donors couldn't buy AIDS vaccine, AIDS medicines, you know, from Nigeria. They had to buy from abroad. I remember I had an opportunity to fight a battle and sign a guarantee at one time when I was in the Shopee, forcing that NACA must buy made in Nigerian antiretrovirals because I knew that they were as good as foreign. Even if the foreign donors can't put their money, Nigerian government put your money. I signed it, I had to put my signature. So these are the issues. The investment is large, the market is limited, and the regulatory requirements are extraordinary. But given understanding of our current minister, Professor Pate, who was also the MD of Gavi, those who are buying these vaccines for Nigeria, he understands what it takes, he understands what it involves. And I can see a vision being driven by knowledge and patriotism. So I believe that maybe if there's no disruption, you know, as I said, our problem in this country is stop and go syndrome. If we can remain consistent with the vision he has enunciated, pushing regulatory so that our National Medicine Regulatory Authority can achieve acceptable, even move to level 4 maturity, then support the local industry. Or by arrangement, because I hear there's some alliance between European Union, one other country, and NIPRID, the Nigerian Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development. If they can put that coalition working and properly funded, we should be able to make it, because it is not for lack of knowledge. If we could make vaccine in 1940, guys, we can't be degrading knowledge. So the people are there. The motivation is what is required and the funding. And if that is done, Nigeria will become, will come back to making its own vaccine and reduce our reliance, because vaccine is the primary of the primary. You know, primary health care. Vaccine is at the base of primary health care. And if we can't have vaccine, the childhood diseases and all these diseases that come every once in a while afflicting our country, you know, we can't deal with them. So there is a lot of problem in the viral world. So they are affecting and afflicting human beings. They mutate, they come back with one name or the other. So a viral technology that can enable us produce vaccines would be a major investment, and I think it's a worthy cause for government to put attention.
I am worried, and I don't know if you're worried about exit of some companies, you know, the likes of GSK and all that has been happening. And we now look at some of the issues: foreign exchange crisis, ease of doing business, bureaucracy and imports, multiple taxation. How have you been coping with this? And many are saying more might even leave. What can government do?
Actually, it was a very painful realization for me. In fact, for the first time, I had to send a letter to the president. I said, Mr. President, I can see you running around the whole world with your team, trying to attract foreign investors. And that's a lot of work. Because I believe certainly as the president, believes that investment is the primary. If you want to drive away poverty or change our economy, you must focus on investment. Because it's investment, whether they are local investment or foreign investment, that creates businesses and projects. We're talking about vaccine. You need investment.
Yes.
These projects and businesses now create jobs. Jobs now create wealth, and wealth drives away poverty and brings prosperity. It's a straight line relationship. But I was shocked that as we are trying to woo foreign investors, those who have been here over many years, through all the cycles of problems and bust and boom, are leaving. It was a very poor optic. And I told Mr. President that he needed to look into this and find out exactly what it is. He needed to look into it. And I have seen some movement. The Minister of Trade and Industry, I've seen him travel to some company, because you need to know what the issues are. And I believe that issues are what you've mentioned. First is that the Nigerian pharmaceutical industry, the healthcare, is dependent a lot on foreign inputs. And so if there is forex issue, there's a difficulty.
Yes.
They also borrow, like those multinationals. If they can't get money sometimes, when I used to be CEO of Pfizer, Pfizer will send us money. As Citibank, they'll send us money in foreign exchange. And the expectation is that we should return them. So if you now borrow in foreign exchange, first, there's a devaluation of over 100%.
Yeah.
How do you do it? You have already declared dividend, you finish accounting, and then you don't find the naira to buy. If you have the naira, you don't find the foreign exchange. It gets to the point where you become a problem to your principals. They start saying, look, this Nigerian business is not worth it. Like when one person wanted to leave this country, like this other guy, like Pfizer left in 1997. These were issues. They weren't as bad as this. They looked, this was where you had political issues, you had economic issues, you had policy instability. Those were three things that drove them. But today we have all of them. We have political issues, not as badly now, at least we have a functioning government. Security, insecurity. Everybody is adding extra costs. You can't send anybody anywhere now without making additional provision. Cost of transportation, the high cost of living. Then energy. Energy is killing companies now. That's why you had people talking about moving to Aba when they say they have started a new 24-hour supply by geometric. It's energy. Because where are you getting the energy? Is it diesel? Diesel is 1,600, 700. Yes. Is it petrol? Petrol is climbing. I mean, in some places in Lagos, you are still buying. Yeah. Last week I was in the East. I was paying 800, 750 to buy a liter.
Because even when it was 150, 180 here, it was 300.
It was here, because they've deregulated down here. This is the only place we are doing control. So cost of energy is an issue. Foreign exchange is an issue. If you take these two, the other issues, insecurity and all that, the third one is policy stability. If you can have a stable policy, make special allowance for foreign exchange. Like I said, you can't treat pharmaceuticals the way you treat electronics, with apology to those who are selling electronics. It's just because this is about life. Okay, I decide not to use electronics for a day or two. But if I have medicine for hypertension and I don't take it, or diabetes, you are sending the person to early death. So we must bring that kind of consideration. So if we can shore foreign exchange, have policy liability, and deal with power. If we can deal with power, I'm sure there's going to be a reverse. All these who are leaving will come back, because business is a logical thing. It's not emotional. It is, I make investments and I get comparative and competitive return on that investment. And where I can get it, the better. Where there is greater freedom in entry and exit of foreign exchange, then where I go. That's what the international people are not sentimental. Nigerians in diaspora can be sentimental, but the average businessman looks at the hard facts. And I think this country can get well, because we have fundamental things that are working for our nation. Our level of industry, there are countries you go, you can't get the level of individual industry. Education, Nigeria is educated, both within, there's no skill. If you can't get in Nigeria, you can get Nigeria diaspora. You know, then we have market, large market. We have also potential. You talked about solid minerals now. You talked about Nigeria is a rich country. Agricultural potentials are untapped. Untapped. I don't think we're doing 5% of, tapping 5% of our agri. And we keep talking about it every year. And I'm wondering why we're really not doing much. What does it take to do commercial agriculture and then put processing plants just behind those agriculture? You put, is it processing tomato? Is it processing grain? Process them. Even these cows that roam about, you put them in their areas where they ranches, and then outside the ranches, you put meat processing plants, can them, process them, put them in big vehicles that are air conditioned, and take them around the country to sell and abroad. There's so much we can do. The pedantic who are looking at agriculture will not take us where we need to go. This issue of food inflation will continue to increase until we go into peasant farming can't do it now. Worse is that peasant farming is affected by insecurity. But if you have agriculture being commercial, those who have the resources to protect themselves, they will build big estates. Like when the South Africans came to Kwara, they built large places they were able to protect them. So what I'm saying is that for pharmaceuticals, the moment we can deal with policy stability, look forward to getting power, create some incentives that will bring these people back, and assure them that if they bring their money and they want to take them out, they will have the opportunity to do so. I'm sure if the returns get better, those people will come because new investors will be reluctant if they see old ones living. Yeah, so we must do the best. And I think the current effort to touch base with Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, touch base with NECA, Nigerian Employers Concern Association, economics, the organized private sector, NASIMA, sit with them and say, what is the issue? What do we need to do for you to keep you here? These changes that have happened, which you asked for, many people have asked for, have a deregulated economy. Yes. Many people have asked for, let's remove the subsidy. Everybody asked for it. So we're facing the challenges because of the way it was introduced. But it will pass. It will pass. So let us agree that in the next 1-2 years, this will pass. And the government says, in these 2 years we are passing through these issues, we can give you these concessions. We can remove tax. We can reduce tax. We can give you, because it's a way to balance it. If you don't, the pay may be too much that in the short term, they can't survive. But in the long term, we will get better.
Oh, you see light at the end of the tunnel. Let's end on that.
Oh, sure. Certainly, this country is too much a blessed country by God. It's blessed. The people themselves are guys who are not willing to take no for an answer. The average Nigerian is willing to work and break obstacles. We're a country of hardworking people, determined people. That's why when Nigerians live here, they go to climes and they excel. You know, so we can recreate that thing that makes them excel back here. This country will yet achieve its purpose as long as government remains fixated to solving the problems of the people and focusing on the welfare of the country, of the land, and as much as possible showing that they appreciate the difficulties the ordinary citizen is facing for now.
Mazi Samuhabo, thank you so much for your time. Businessman, pharmacist, and politician. Thank you for joining us on Business Nigeria. We'll keep a tab and see how events unfold, and we'd like to have you in again.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
All right there. Well.